I would much rather pay $100 for a good jam-packed game that I know I'm going to enjoy than to pay $50 for a half game that I'm only gonna play like an hour of. Yo, what up guys, it's the Gaming Zone bringing you your daily gaming news. And on today's topic, Baldur's Gate 3 developer from Larian Studios, Micheal Douse, makes a bold statement towards the developers of Ubisoft, and we are going to be digging deeper into those comments. So without further ado, let's get into it. Baldur's Gate 3 developer blasts Ubisoft sales strategy. If gamers should get used to not owning their own games, then developers must get used to not having jobs. And I agree with this man 1000%. Micheal Douse, the director of publishing for Baldur's Gate 3 and its developer Larian Studios, blasts Ubisoft in the wake of a number of blunders, including the Prince of Persia: The Last Crown, which is rumored to have seen its developer team disband after not meeting sales expectations. It was rumored earlier this week that Ubisoft disbanded its team at Ubisoft Multiplier that worked on the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. That rumor originated from the French YouTube channel Origami, whose host declared in recent days at Ubisoft Multiplier, "We are transporting boxes from one floor to another, and it's quite a symbol because it is that of disillusion, not announced to the public, but completed of the team Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown." The host went on to share that the decision to disband the team was made shortly after the game released at the beginning of the year. It released on January 18th, 2024 to Nintendo, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. He said, "It was clear in the spring, in fact, a few patches, a DLC, and we are packing up." While Ubisoft management had made the decision to move from one game shortly after it was released, the host claimed that some of the members of the core development team fought for 2 DLCs in an attempt to change the minds of management. However, Ubisoft management were unconvinced, especially given the game's sales were below expectations. Instead, they wanted to reallocate the team to more potentially lucrative projects. Furthermore, the team was told that if they were to release a sequel, it could cannibalize long-term sales for the first game. In reaction to coverage of the team allegedly being disbanded by PC Gamer, Douse shared his opinion on X. The last notable game on their platform was arguably Far Cry 6 in 2021. The Crew, Mirage, and Avatar came out in 2023 and didn't perform, so you can assume subscriptions were at low when POP released by 2024, which means people wouldn't be launching their stores all too much. He added, if it had released on Steam, not only would it have been a market success, but there would likely be a sequel because the teams are so strong. It's such a broken strategy. The hardest thing to do is to make an 85+ game. It is much easier to release one. It just shouldn't be done as it was. By 85+, he means Metacritic. Next, Douse torched Ubisoft and specifically the company's director of subscription, Philip Tremblay, for his comments back in January where he said gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games. He said one of the things we saw is that gamers are used to a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collections or DVD collections. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't want to lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, the progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't want to lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. Douse wrote, if the statement gamers should get used to not owning their games is true because of a specific release strategy, subs above sales, then the statement developers must get used to not having jobs if they make a critically acclaimed game is also true, and that just isn't sensible even from a business perspective. While Douse's torching of Ubisoft rings true and his observations that Ubisoft Plus was likely not seeing the number of players necessary to float the Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, the fact that it would release on Steam would not necessarily make it a market success. In fact, the game released on Steam in August appeared to be struggling. The game hit its peak of just 1,446 players when it released to Steam. In the last 24 hours, it only hit a peak concurrent of 119 players. Furthermore, the game is ranked as 1,400 on Steam's top seller list. Nevertheless, Douse is no stranger to criticizing Ubisoft. Back in August, he appeared to criticize Ubisoft pricing structure for Star Wars Outlaws. He wrote on X, "I don't love the artificially of pricing structures post-retail, use the inflated base price to upsell a subscription, and use vague content promised to inflate ultimate editions to make the base price look better." He added, "It all seems a bit dangerous and disconnected from the community," which it absolutely is, and I wish more people would understand that concept. Next, he shared, "I think games should be priced accordingly with its quality, breadth, and depth. I'm not against higher prices, but this arbitrary uniformity just doesn't make sense to me. It feels so unserious." He then declared all games should cost more at base level because of the cost of making them. Inflation, for one, is outpacing pricing trends, but I don't think we'll get there with DLC promises so much as quality and communication. Everyone's just waiting for GTA 6 to do it, LOL, he concluded. In a separate thread, he wrote, "Various people who are not very astute fail to understand my point was perhaps $70 to $80 games that function properly and have the content to back it up are better than buggy jank slops repackaged with shite skins for $120. The latter exists because the former doesn't." Again, I agree with everything he just said there. I would much rather pay $100 for a good jam-packed game that I know I'm going to enjoy than to pay $50 for a half game that I'm only gonna play like an hour of. He continued, "A brief economics lesson. Bulk of development cost is salary. If a company is sensible, they afford inflation increases to developers. This rises costs over time. The last 2 years astronomically increases risks. What does most AAAs do? Reduce risks. How? Play it safe and follow trends. This leads people to look at AI and automation as a beacon of hope for a cost problem, when really the problem is the impossible to solve lack of foresight about what anyone should be making." Douse elaborated, "There are outliers. None of the risk-averse strategies typically make better games." He then declared, "If you really want engaging, super polished premium experiences, you won't, because it's economically impossible save for a few token outliers. Get them from risk-averse strategy, coping inflation. I want good games. I get mad at bad games. I also price games, open parentheses, I price both Divinity Original Sin 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 below their value because I care about people's cost of living and have faith in our recoup. CE far below. Again, I have faith, so I'm not the suit ripping people off. Thanks, RPS." As I've been saying throughout the whole video, I agree with this man. I think what he's saying is very spot on. People won't see it that way because they're gonna look at him as bashing, but it's not bashing if he's telling the truth. If you guys feel like we shouldn't get used to owning our games, then a lot of you developers should get used to not having a job or looking for a new job somewhere else that's not in the gaming industry. But what are you guys' thoughts? Leave your comments down below. And that's all that I have for you guys today. If you like what you heard and you made it this far, please hit that subscribe button and like button. If you didn't like what you heard and you made it this far, go ahead and hit that dislike button. I am the Gaming Zon, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. Peace.